Hello everyone, CJ here. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another Mortal Kombat 1 video. Since we're 1 week away from the game's release and all the character bios has been released, I wanted to take the time to go over all the character bios and discuss very briefly all the theories that I have for every single character throughout the story. I wanted to do separate videos for all the characters individually, but I figured I should just wait until all the character bios are out. And now that they are, here's the character bio and theory video. But with that, let's jump right into it. Before we continue the video, big disclaimer. We will be going over major spoilers for both Mortal 1 Kombat's plot details, especially Chapter 1, as well as Mortal Kombat 11's Aftermath story endings. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I assure you that there'll be timestamps to skip over the major spoilers. And if you want to navigate through the video a lot easier, you can use the timestamp guide down in the description below the video. But with that, let's jump right into the video. Liu Kang, God of Fire. Having won control of the Hourglass, Liu Kang restarted history. He neutralized the threats and dangers that had come before, crafting a new era in which all beings would have the opportunity to find peace. But that peace is now threatened by an enemy that Liu Kang could never have anticipated. It will take all of his wisdom and experience to save not only Earthrealm, but all of reality. The theory? Liu Kang has a certain Goku effect in the sense of he allows his enemies to still live in the hopes that they would better themselves, whether or not they would do so or not. And given the evidence from Chapter 1 and the other story leaks, we know that certain villains are still alive in this timeline, meaning that Liu Kang allowed them to live in this new era in hopes that they would become better people, but it's their canon event to turn to evil and disrupt this peaceful timeline. And in doing so, the very, very big villain that he let live in this timeline will cause a domino effect that will cause all the dangers to amount to a really big final conflict at the end of the story. Raiden, champion of Earthrealm. In the village of Fengjian, Raiden was known for his kindness and his charity. He was happy to spend his days tending to the fields, as well as to his friends and family. So when he is asked to leave Fengjian and become one of Earthrealm's champions, Raiden hesitates. But he soon realizes that to best serve his village, he must join them. As threats to Earthrealm mount, Raiden must mature into the great warrior that Liu Kang knows he can be. The theory? Raiden will be going through the hero's journey throughout this whole game, since he is most likely the main protagonist of the story. And in doing so, by the end of the story, he'll fully accept and understand his champion role, and gain confidence in himself that he is definitely Earthrealm's champion. Kung Lao, youthful warrior with dreams of glory. Born and raised in the village of Fengjian, Kung Lao has spent his life toiling in the fields. It has been an honorable life, if not a glorious one. Kung Lao's greatest fear is that his life will amount to nothing. He prays fervently that he will be called to do something bigger. His prayers are answered when he is asked to join the champions of Earthrealm. As a warrior fighting for its honor, Kung Lao knows that his victories will long be remembered. The theory? Kung Lao will finally earn and see glory at the end of the story, and hopefully survive till the end to see it in fruition, and not as a result of his death, as it was in the first NRS timeline, back in MK9. Sub-Zero, Bi-Han, Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei. As the Lin Kuei's Grandmaster, Sub-Zero leads his ancient warrior clan in the defense of Earthrealm from external threats. For centuries, it has been their solemn task. But Earthrealm hasn't been threatened in generations, and Sub-Zero sees no point in limiting his clan to preparing for dangers that may never come. Under his leadership, the Lin Kuei will come out of the shadows and fight for its place as one of Earthrealm's great nations. The theory? His actions will lead to the death of a character, hero or not, and he'll be so swallowed up in his ambitions, he will be forced to face his brother Kuai Liang in a duel that may result in both brothers losing their lives or one or the other. This half of the theory sees Bi-Han dying without redemption, and soon to become Noob Saibot in the next game, as per his canon event in all previous timelines. Scorpion, Kuai Liang, revered Lin Kuei warrior. Like his cherished father, Scorpion is dedicated to the Lin Kuei and its defense of Earthrealm. When his father died, Scorpion was bereft, though he took pride in knowing that his brother Sub-Zero would succeed their father as the Lin Kuei's Grand Master. But Sub-Zero's unprecedented moves to cast off the Lin Kuei's traditional duties have frozen Scorpion's enthusiasm. He fears that he may one day have to battle his brother for the control of the Lin Kuei's legacy. The theory, as the second half of the fire and ice theory that was mentioned a moment ago with Sub-Zero, Kuai Liang might face a moment in which he has no other choice but to fight Sub-Zero for possibly the last time, as this drastic duel might result in one of their deaths. And in this theory, it would be most tragic if Kuai Liang is the one that dies at Sub-Zero's hands, causing him to flee in anguish at the unnecessary death of his brother. And as a result of Kuai Liang's death, he could potentially be the one that gets transformed into Noob Saibot in the next game. Wouldn't that be emotionally tragic and crazy if that actually happened? First Kuai Liang's Scorpion, now he's gonna be Noob Saibot? Ah, my heart. Smoke, Master of Stealth. Hey, how come he's the only one with a red banner and everyone else blue? As a boy, Smoke lived to hunt with his family. Their final hunt, however, ended in tragedy. Having accidentally trespassed onto Lin Kuei lands, they were attacked. Smoke was orphaned. Ashamed by his warrior's actions, the Lin Kuei's Grandmaster adopted Smoke. He raised him alongside his sons Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Eventually, Smoke chose to make the Lin Kuei's mission his own. But as he lacked his brother's innate supernatural abilities, he set out to master practical magic. Having done so, he now joins them in Earthrealm's defense. The theory, Smoke will make it through majority of the story, but unfortunately meets his end, either by actions of the villains or caught in the crossfire between the feud started up by Sub-Zero, and with his death pushes the fateful duel between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and is most likely an important detail in said fight, since Smoke is very much on Scorpion's side, and Sub-Zero most likely did not like that Smoke did not join him. Since I would not like to see this, since I really like Smoke, and I really hope that he doesn't die in this way, even though it's super dramatic and character driven. I would love to see the other theory I have play out, in which he joins the heroes as a permanent member of Earthrealm's defense force and joins Kuai Liang in all of his missions, as he is his brother too. Kenshi Takahashi, restorer of his family's name. Once one of ancient Japan's most honored families, the Takahashis, were decimated in battle. They lost everything, including the emblem of their power, their revered sword Sento. Those who survived joined the Bakuto, a predecessor of the Yakuza, for its protection. 5 centuries later, Kenshi is raised on the stories of his ancient family's exploits. Detesting his corrupt Yakuza life, he pines to free the Takahashis from the Yakuza's grasp and restore their name. But for his family to follow him, Kenshi must first fight to prove that he can lead. His first battle is to find and retrieve Sento. The theory, Kenshi finally redeems not only himself but the Takahashi name after going through the necessary hard journey that is the story mode. Well, with all of the trials that he will go through, especially the one of pain and suffering at the loss of his eyesight, but gaining his new strength and power along with Sento as well. Essentially, this theory is Kenshi achieving his goal and redeeming himself from all of his painful and dark actions from his past, and in doing so, feeling that he has earned his place as one of Earthrealm's defenders, as a true hero. Johnny Cage, 21st century action hero. Like many stars before him, Johnny became addicted to his fame. He came to measure his self-worth by his fans' adoration and their praise on him on social media. But with his star now fading, Johnny is fighting an uphill battle to remain relevant. He joins Liu Kang's Earthrealm champions, hoping that it will provide his career and his fame a desperate needed boost. I'm going to ignore the little text chime there. The theory. By the end of the story, Johnny becomes more humble and open-minded, the same way that Johnny Cage was in between MK9 and MKX. And in doing so, he'll achieve both his goal of trying to become famous again, but at the same time, understanding the world around him of Mortal Kombat. And hey, hopefully he does unlock his green magical abilities too. That'll be nice. Geras, Sentinel of the Hourglass. Reconstructed by Liu Kang at the dawn of his new era, Geras remains eternal and unkillable. He retains the memories of all the innumerable timelines he has watched pass and fade. In this new era, Geras monitors events to make sure that they are faithful to Liu Kang's vision. When they deviate from their intended path, it is Geras' responsibility to correct them. As threats begin to mount, Geras works tirelessly to defend reality. But to succeed, he must first identify the mastermind behind the plot to destroy Liu Kang's new era. The theory. Geras may either be convincingly swayed over to one of the villain's sides, particularly, and here's the big spoiler here, so you can skip this part of Geras' theory. If Geras is swayed or at least has his functions overwritten by his former master, Kronika, who is in this new timeline, and who could possibly be the one that's causing the domino effect to create all the villains in this new era. Either that, or Geras is somehow destroyed by the actions of one of the other villains in this story. We shall soon see, but I will like to see stick around as a hero for once. But if he goes out, I'm sure it'll be a glorious death for the Sentinel of Time. Kitana, Princess of Outworld. As the second-born daughter of Sindel and Jared, Kitana has one purpose in life: to aid and protect her older sister Mileena as she prepares to rule Outworld one day. The steady-handed Kitana ignores the calls of those who advocate that she should replace her impulsive sister as heir. Instead, Kitana will defend the realm by fighting to make Mileena the best empress possible. She will also fight to hide the dark secret that could end her sister's reign before it begins. The theory. Given the events that will happen to Mileena due to the Tarkat disease, Kitana will reluctantly assume the throne and ultimately join the heroes as Queen of Outworld and the true heir to the throne. That does seem like the likely case with Kitana's story within this game's plot, but it would be interesting to see how it further develops than just becoming the reluctant heir once Mileena can no longer govern. And more of this will be elaborated on in Mileena's part in just a moment, as Mileena's theory is the second half to this theory. Mileena, heir to Outworld's throne. Born mere seconds ahead of her twin sister, Mileena is the rightful heir to Outworld's throne. But even so, there are those who distrust Mileena's impulsiveness. They whisper that Kitana, with her steadier hand, should replace Mileena as Sindel's heir. As Mileena fights for legitimacy, she hides a horrible secret. She is infected with the dreaded and lethal Tarkat disease. Were her affliction found out, Mileena would be forced into battle to save her throne. The theory. Way after the Tarkat disease plot details play through, and maybe towards the end of the game's plot, Mileena breaks away from the main group and family in order to start her own exiled faction, possibly bringing in some of the other Outworld characters along with her, which will set up her eventual rise to power in possibly the next game. Almost like what Mileena did in MKX when she gathered her forces like Tanya and Raiden, who are also in this game, which made me think that we could possibly see Mileena leave Outworld, or at least the main capital Sindel, out of anger and hate in order to build on her power for the next game. And naturally, due to her leaving, that is what also causes Kitana to have no other choice but to assume the throne as well, which then feeds onto Mileena's jealousy of her. Sindel, Empress of Outworld. When Sindel ascended to Outworld's throne, she worried that she was ill-prepared, adding to her stress her impending arranged marriage to Jared, an Outworld noble. Forced into it to placate a rebellious region, Sindel could only pray that he was worthy. To Sindel's delight, Jared proved an ideal partner. Her early reign marked the start of a new golden age. Sindel then welcomed her beautiful twin daughters, Mileena and Kitana. She thanked the gods for her charmed life. But Sindel had counted her blessings too quickly. When Jared was murdered, Sindel's heart was broken. Smelling weakness, factions formed to challenge her rule. As her enemies conspire, Sindel fights to protect her family and her empire. She will do whatever it takes to defend her daughter's birthright. The theory? Now, this is when things get complicated, because I had come up with 3 theories for Sindel's story within this game's plot, and unfortunately, all 3 have a dire consequence too. The first is either Sindel has to sacrifice herself in order to save both of her daughters from one another or from the actions of one of the villains, making it an unfortunate but noble sacrifice. The second, in order to fight for what's right and do whatever she can to defend not only her daughters but Outworld as a realm, she dies at the hand of one of the villains. These 2 theories play on the idea of Sindel being a hero throughout the whole game's story and doing whatever she can in order to prioritize Outworld primarily for her daughter's sake. But this third one is the kicker. Lastly and thirdly, we get the Twindel twist, that Sindel is actually working with the villains and will actually turn into a twist villain by the end of the story. Hopefully that's not the case, and a lighter version of this theory, which I could still see happening, is that she only agrees with one of the villains' deals in which she would have to let the villains take on the Earthrealmers for the sake of the deal allowing Outworld to not be touched by the villains' hands, and in doing so, she reluctantly agrees. Most likely, any of these theories will be proven wrong with the game's story once it releases. But I can still see that if Sindel would live throughout the whole story, which would be really, really nice because Sindel could really use a great moment in her life in all timelines, that she would willingly give the throne to Kitana if need be. Li Mei, first constable of the Sun Do. As her parents' firstborn daughter, Li Mei was claimed by the Umgadi, the warrior priestesses who guard Outworld's royal family. Li Mei's service began with high expectations. Her early success caught the eye of the royal family, but it all fell apart when a terrible tragedy unfolded. Li Mei was blamed for this, and in the aftermath, she did the unthinkable. She quit the Umgadi. Friendless and alone, Li Mei needed a new purpose. She joined Sun Do's constables, the Outworld capital's rough-and-tumble police force. Over time, she became their first constable. Li Mei is glad to be the capital guardian. Still, she hopes one day to redeem herself. The theory? By the end of the story, Li Mei learns to forgive herself and learns to let go of the past and accept the present. And by the end of it, if Kitana does assume the throne, Li Mei will become second only to Kitana and do her best to protect the new Queen of Outworld. There is a possibility of Li Mei potentially sacrificing herself in order to save Kitana and or Mileena, which could very much be possible, but I still see her making it through to the end of the game's story and joining the heroes as one of Outworld's defenders. Tanya, guardian of Outworld's royal family. Chosen as an infant from Outworld's firstborn daughters, Tanya was raised by the Umgadi's priestesses. She's never known her birth family. As she grew older and saw the other initiates wash out, Tanya feared that she would share their fate. But that fear spurred success. After many attempts, Tanya passed her trials and became a full Umgadi. Over time, Tanya became one of the Order's most trusted members. She was the obvious choice when it needed to choose a new leader for the royal family's personal guard. As an Umgadi, Tanya is sworn to piety and chastity. That is why her bond with Princess Mileena, were it known, would cause a scandal. By following her heart, Tanya risks not only her position, but also her life. The theory, when asked to flee with Mileena, Tanya will either reluctantly stay with the heroes despite what happens to Mileena and their bond for one another. Or, because of said bond, Tanya rejects the Umgadi and the fellow heroes, especially Outworld's royalty, and joins Mileena and defects from Outworld. And you know that's going to be so emotional if she just leaves everything behind in order to continue her journey with Mileena because of how much she means to her. It'll be interesting to see if that plays out, but who knows how Tanya's story will be in this story. Baraka, defender of the Tarkatans. Baraka was once a respected Outworld merchant, but that life ended in an instant when he contracted the dreaded Tarkat plague. Incurable, contagious, and the cause of severe physical deformities, Tarkat turned Baraka into a monster. He was cast out and doomed to live out his days in a colony of similarly afflicted Outworlders. When Baraka first arrived, the colony was in disarray. His fellow Tarkatans had given up and were ready to die. Their hopelessness lit a fire in Baraka's heart. He spares no effort to better his fellow Tarkatans' lives. He knows that as long as he fights, he will never truly be a victim. The theory: Baraka is swayed to join the heroes full-time or swayed by the villains. Either way, he is promised help for his people and a chance at salvation for them, which is why he may or may not join either of the factions. Or he could simply remain a neutral party, as he can see the pros and cons to either side not benefiting him or his people, and therefore making him a champion of the Tarkatans, which can set up a plot thread that he and the Tarkatans make their own nation within Outworld. That'd be interesting. Reptile, Syzoth, Zaterran slave. Reptile is the Terran, one of the reptiloid races which lives on Outworld's fringes. Like other reptiles, Zaterrans can camouflage themselves, but Reptile possesses a unique mutation, one which allows him to shapeshift to appear human. Bullied mercilessly by Zaterrans for this ability, Reptile left home to make his future elsewhere. The theory: Syzoth may start on the side of the villains at the beginning of the story, but he could potentially join the heroes permanently, as we well know that he will be joining the heroes during their missions during the first half of the story. But hopefully he'll remain as a hero throughout the whole game's plot, because that would be interesting. Reptile as a good guy, that would be kind of cool. And possibly by the end, depending on whoever is on the throne, whether it be Kitana, Mileena, Sindel, whoever, it would be kind of cool to see Reptile be a permanent member or defender of Outworld. Or at least, if he chooses to be an anti-hero, he can still fight for Outworld's safety, as its reptiloid ninja in the shadows. Ashrah, repentant Netherrealm demon. As a demon, all Ashrah knew was pain and violence. She assumed all beings in all realms lived as she did. But once she journeyed outside of the Netherrealm, she realized her error. Other realms were places of beauty and peace. She could not aid in their defilement. Ashrah fled from her sister demons. Along the way, she found an enchanted Chris. It was a demon slayer, which she used to finish her pursuers. She was stunned to discover that using the Chris to destroy evil was purifying her soul, and that if she continued to do so, she could free herself from the Netherrealm. Ashrah senses that her final absolution is near. Once achieved, she will finally enter the light. The theory: Ashrah loses her life potentially at the hands of the villains, specifically Havik and Serena. And in doing so, dying for a noble cause, she is able to purify herself spiritually for having done the right thing to defend the beauty of life. It would be interesting, however, if she did make it to the end of the game's story and continues to purify herself and maybe be purified by the next game, or she managed to fully do it in this game, or quite possibly learn to accept herself for how she is now, since she is fighting for a righteous cause in defending the realms. Rain, High Mage of Outworld. As a student at Outworld's exclusive Imperial Academy of Sorcery, Rain amazed his peers with his singular aptitude for water magic. Having honed his craft of water magic into a fierce weapon, he now hopes to learn the realm's darkest and most powerful sorcery. The theory: although he seems to be on the side of Outworld, being with Mileena and Kitana and Tanya and them, I believe that Rain will become a twist villain and he's actually in league with the villains, or is actually the unexpected mastermind of the whole thing in order to achieve his goal of attaining as much power as he can throughout all of Outworld and potentially all of the realms. That would make for an interesting twist since he does seem to be very ambitious to obtain as much power and knowledge as he possibly can. That would make for an interesting thing with Rain, given his history back in the other timelines, such as the Midway timeline and the first NRS timeline. Almost how in some iterations of Spider-Man Sinister Six, Doc Ock is the twist mastermind of everything as the master planner. That would make Rain's story so interesting since his bio was so short. Nitara, heroine of Aeternus. Nitara's race of vampires hails from the dark and desolate realm of Aeternus. To survive, they evolved the ability to feed on the blood of other creatures. The Aeternans thrived, building a great society, but as their comfort grew, so did their short-sightedness. They overfed on Aeternus' creatures, disrupting the natural order. They now starve as it collapses. It is Nitara's solemn obligation to deliver her people from hunger and save her race. Aeternus must survive. The theory: Nitara strikes a deal with the other villains in order to save her realm, in which, given that she's trying to become a champion of her people, maybe by the end of the story, maybe she does turn into a hero character. This will be the most stretchiest part of Nitara's theory, but I could see her fighting Ashrah, and potentially, if she's the one that kills Ashrah, it'd be interesting that Ashrah and Nitara have a almost similarity in the sense of they just want to better themselves and prove their worth and fight for a greater cause. And maybe Ashrah's words reaches Nitara, which makes her turn to the hero side of things, since she does want to fight for a noble cause for her realm, despite her actions being beneficial to the villains. That would make for an interesting little character development for the both of them, and especially for Nitara too. General Shao, Supreme Commander of Outworld's army. Born into a proud military family, Shao was expected to become a soldier, but he was a sickly child who, though brilliant and eager, had an infirm body. Shao's disability infuriated his father. He dismissed his son's physicians and designed an extreme program to build his son's strength and endurance. Years of toil molded Shao into a physical colossus and forged within him an iron will. And as his father had promised, Shao became the perfect soldier. His brilliant tactics and relentless effort won Outworld many victories and him much fame. Though General Shao is sworn to serve the Empress, his loyalty is to Outworld. If Sindel's rule ever endages Outworld, he will be the first to try to end it. The theory, and kind of the obvious theory that everyone has, is Shao is definitely going to turn evil, which is probably like his greatest canon event ever in all of MK's timelines. But yes, the theory is that Shao manages to win the throne of Outworld and or is the cause of Sindel's possible death, which would be a pretty interesting thing if he does manage to win over Outworld and they don't beat him, or at least the heroes don't succeed in stopping his rule. That would be an interesting segue into the second game of this timeline, but I don't see that happening, as I feel like they're gonna stop General Shao's schemes in this story, and the bigger threat might be for another villain. So although they might deal with Shao and his forces throughout majority of the game, I feel like there's a larger main villain to be dealt with by the end of the game's story. Imagine if the twist is that Shao actually becomes a good guy. Can you imagine? Havik, rebellious anarchist. A citizen of the realm of Sato, Havik is sworn to take down its oppressive regime and free his people. There, order is prized above all else. Law-breaking is met with strict punishment. Its citizens lived in strictly regulated castes. As a member of Sato's lowest caste, Havik had neither rights nor privileges. He seethed with anger at the injustice. When he is brutally punished for a minor crime, Havik finally decides to act. He sets out to destroy Sato's regime and replace it with an anarchist utopia. Once he breaks Sato's social order, Havik will free its citizens. Together, they will live in blessed anarchy. The theory, Havik may be in an alliance with some of the deadlier villains in this story in order to achieve his goal. Or the twist is that although he's working with the other villains, that he's actually in league with a larger looming threat that's either the final boss of the game or the villain for the next Mortal Kombat game. It's obviously that Havik's a villain, but it's interesting to see where his motives are coming from and who he's working with. Because I doubt that he would be the front man for someone else's schemes, right? Right? Liu Kang. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, CJ, you already did Liu Kang in the beginning. We'll get to that right now. I mentioned Liu Kang a second time now. Throughout the MK community, I've seen a theory go around, and it's a big theory. And I would so love to believe this theory to be a possibility, although it's the biggest stretch of a theory that could ever come from this Mortal Kombat game. So here it goes. But before we talk about the theory, major spoilers to all those who haven't seen MK11 Aftermath, because we will talk about something very major at the end of that. So my apologies to my bestie and all of you that haven't seen it yet. Skip ahead, or maybe you might have to skip this whole theory in itself. Now here's the time step to skip ahead and avoid the spoilers for Aftermath. But here we go. This theory of Liu Kang is, what if this whole time Shang Tsung has been Liu Kang in disguise and actually won the hourglass at the end of MK11, and we're following that storyline? Wouldn't that be so insane that he's just so perfectly shapeshifted as Liu Kang and just lived his life as the imposter? That would make for such a crazy twist at the end. Granted, it will come with a lot of crazy things that a lot of people won't like, but I'm kind of glad that the game already retcons this, since Shang Tsung does show up in this timeline and he's in chapter 1, so I doubt that he's taken over as Liu Kang. And it would be even a bigger stretch if Shang Tsung managed to kill Liu Kang off screen in this game and took over his body or whatever, or his form during this storyline. But that's too much of a stretch for me. Like, it would be cool, but no, I don't think it'll be a possibility. I just thought I'd say it. Say it out there, you know? So yeah, although this theory is very, very doubtful, it's still a cool of an idea, but still, I don't think this is going to happen at all. But on the subject, there's one last character to talk about, which I almost forgot because he doesn't even have a character bio yet. And that character is Shang Tsung, treacherous snake of sorcery. And my apologies again, but we'll be going to deep spoilers for MK1 right here. So if you need to skip ahead, here's the timestamp to avoid spoilers for MK1. The theory? Shang Tsung is swayed by Chronica, as we clearly see in chapter 1 of the game's story. And although Shang Tsung would deviate into his canon event of a devious path, it would be kind of interesting if he shows a sign of redemption and could possibly be turned as a good guy, or at least like an anti-hero kind of character. But it's very, very doubtful. It would be an interesting thing if he attains a certain power that he's never had before at the end of the game after he's been defeated. That would make for an interesting twist to add on to something new from this timeline onto Shang Tsung. But who knows, we shall soon see. But it's just so interesting, the potential that Shang Tsung has. And thus brings an end to this Mortal Kombat character bio discussion and theory video. And man, this was so exciting. I've been looking forward to this video the whole time ever since they started releasing all the trailers and character bios from the beginning. I'm so glad I managed to make my way to working on this, because there was a possibility I wasn't going to release this video. But anyways, I sure do appreciate that all the character bios are out. However, I do know that there's only one character left that hasn't been revealed yet, which I feel like they'll either drop once the game does, or it's like Frost and MK11, where it's a surprise character that won't be revealed until after the game came out. So then that way people will play the story, will see that surprise last character, and then be able to play said character. And although it could very much be General Raiko, but it could be very much another character. I did see a leak of a Jade character profile, so that would be nice if she was in this game too. Yeah, and although I feel like this character bio list is finally completed, it would be kind of funny just for one last character bio to just topple my video, you know? But that's okay. It's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. But yes, with that, this video comes to an end. And boy, it was super fun just to come up with all these theories. I'm pretty sure, having said all of these out loud, none of these are going to come true. But it would be kind of cool if they did. And I'm sure that some little details that I had mentioned may or may not come true, but just played out in a different way. That'll be nice too. I'll accept that. But I guess that's that for Mortal Kombat until it releases. And I guess if all my theories turn out to be false, I guess I have my own little fanfic going for me, you know? My own version of MK1, since now multiverse is in Mortal Kombat. But with that aside and all my rambling too, what do you all think about my theories, my thoughts, and of course, all of your own theories as well? I'm very curious to see what's on your mind, especially going into Mortal Kombat 1. So I'd love it and appreciate it if you dropped some comments, thoughts, and theories and concerns down in the comment section down below. And hey, I'd like to give you a big thanks for watching the video. And if you made it this far, you're pretty awesome. And if you liked the video, why not drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new? Your help is always very much appreciated. And check out some of my other stuff too, especially my other MK videos. But with that, I hope that you all continue to have a great day, and I'll catch you next time, whether that be a new Mortal Kombat video or just in general. But with that, I'm CJ, and I'll catch you next time, especially, hopefully, when Mortal Kombat 1 comes out. I'm still gonna be calling it Mortal 1 Kombat. But yes, catch you next time. Bye bye for now.